Hello friends, welcome to the M.A.R.E podcast. Before we get started, you can find our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts and YouTube. Don't forget that you can find more about the M.A.R.E project at www.marehamburg.com, and you can support the project and this podcast through Patreon. All the links are in the description. Enjoy! Hello friends of the M.A.R.E podcast, welcome to another episode. And join me in welcoming Elissa in the podcast today. Elissa has a bachelor's of in archaeology at the Lebanese University and a minor in marine science and culture at the American University of Beirut. She also holds a Master of Science from the University of Southampton and currently working in Lebanon for HFF Lebanon. That's Honor Frost Foundation Lebanon. Elissa, welcome to the podcast. It's very nice to have you here.
George, thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be here.
Excellent. I'm sure this is going to be super interesting. So let's start from the beginning. You decided to study archaeology in Lebanon, which is your home country as well. How did that come about? Why archaeology? How did you get into it?
Yeah, it's the question, isn't it? First, I did not know I wanted archaeology to begin with. I did a baccalaureate in general science, and I was applying for architecture at first. But then my sister came to me and she was like, "Oh, there's this really interesting major at the Lebanese university. It's called History of Arts and Archaeology." And I was like, that sounds interesting. Like, I'd never had an orientation that archaeology exists as a discipline at university. So one day I went with her to uni and I was already registered for another major. So I was like, I want to see what this is about. I went there and there was a lecture about numismatics or something. And I was like, this is very interesting. Like, you can tell a lot of things. Like, it has a lot of stories and it's very exciting. So I started to do double major. I was registered in computer science also, like not even architecture. I changed a lot in my mind. So and I started to be more interested in archaeology, and my sister was also registered. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to do this double major thing. I just want to do archaeology. And the first summer I went to my first fieldwork. And I was more convinced that this is like more fulfilling and interesting and exciting. So I continued and here we are.
Nice. So then you reached the point where you're studying archaeology, and then you decide to do a minor in marine sciences and culture. Is that what it's called? So from one point, from numismatics, something happened that leads you in going into marine and maritime stuff. So what was that? What happened? What was the event?
I think like while doing mainstream archaeology, I was excited for all the lectures, when you want to like do everything at that time. And in one of the lectures, the teacher was introducing maritime archaeology to us, and she said like you can learn how to dive and you can see the archaeology underwater. And I was already interested in fieldwork and I knew this can happen underwater. I was like, this sounds amazing. So the Honor Frost Foundation were supporting the minor at the American University of Beirut, and I looked up the program and it seemed very interesting. So I applied for the scholarship and then I was accepted. So I was very excited for it. And then when I went and saw like how archaeology can also expand and like understanding the maritime landscape and how the sea takes a role in everything. And I already like love to be by the sea. So I was even more interested in the maritime aspect of things. And then we learned how to dive and it got even more exciting. So yeah.
So you've learned how to dive as part of that program?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's interesting for people who want to like maybe join that program.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the modules of the program is Applied Maritime Archaeology, and there's a field school for students, and they can learn how Applied Maritime Archaeology works. And to be able to do like underwater surveys, you need to be able to dive. So part of the course is to do the open water course. And once you're able and fit to be underwater, you can like start diving and learn the applied tasks that one can do underwater.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, sounds about right. So, just little parenthesis I have to ask. So, what was your first field work?
Mainstream archaeology or maritime archaeology?
Both.
Both. I think my first I need to remember. My first survey, I think it was the terrestrial survey, but it was a coastal terrestrial survey, and we were mapping an area by the sea, and yeah, we were doing like transects and walking survey, and like grabbing the pottery and like processing it when we get back home, and registering the stuff in GIS and all this kind of things. And it was followed by an excavation. So I had to experience both in like a short period of time. So yeah. So it was first survey and then excavation.
Oh, well. Nice, interesting. All right, so then let's keep on going with the story until we reach the main part. So then, the minor. How long is the minor? A year?
Yeah.
Year. Okay. And then you decide to go even further. Is it you're doubling down?
Yeah.
And you go to the University of Southampton to pursue a master's in maritime archaeology. So talk to me a bit about that. How did you decide to do that? And how was that? How was the experience studying in Southampton?
So I finished my bachelor, and obviously I want to do my master's, and we don't have maritime archaeology as a master's in Lebanon. And with the honor, because I already know the Honor Frost Foundation, and I know they offer scholarships to Marseille and Southampton and other places. So I looked up the program, and I thought if I want to do a master's, it's gotta be maritime archaeology. So I applied to Southampton, and I went there. And funny enough, it was also the first time I travel ever. So it was quite an experience.
Oh, wow.
So yeah. So yeah, and it was post-COVID, like it was right post the lockdown. So I went to the UK, and I had to do like a quarantine for 10 or 15 days. So yeah, I was like gradually being integrated in the UK. We started the lectures obviously at Southampton, and I was it yeah, it was a lot to learn for me. Like I had to adapt to living in a new country, and um, getting to know how things work around. And yeah, but the lectures were very interesting, and I was very happy how multicultural Southampton is, and the classes, like our colleagues were. So it was very nice to see like the different backgrounds, and like how maritime archaeology is taking place in different parts of the world. At some point, it was too maritime for me. I felt like, yeah, because like here I was focused on Lebanon, and I knew everything, and like I was very confident with like my knowledge of the field. And then I went to Southampton, and it was like much broader, and like the topics were like more expanded and like richer, but it was very interesting. I had the challenge of the difference of the curriculum between the Lebanese university and the University of Southampton. So at the Lebanese university, we had more of the type of sit-in exams, and yeah, it wasn't like more research oriented. It was more content oriented, where we learn the content, and then we do the sit-in exam. So this was also like quite a challenge for me to adapt. But at the AUB, with the Marine Science and Culture program, we were doing like a smaller version of the master's at Southampton. So it was like a preparation for me, and I worked on like my writing skills, my research skills. So I had to like just work on it even more in the UK. And yeah, the program was very fast. I feel like the year went like with a blink of an eye. It was too many things happening in one year. But I feel like it was a very rich experience for me. Like I learned a lot from this experience, and I built a lot of networks, and I have really good colleagues that now I feel like we share a lot of knowledge and we can consult each other on different topics. But I really like the program because it gets you exposed to a lot of things and a lot of sub-disciplines. Like you can choose whatever you want to know more about. And yeah, I feel like I still benefit from it until today, like from the connections I made and the lectures I attended.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can definitely confirm that, because I had the same feeling when I first moved in the UK and I got exposed to like world maritime archaeology rather than Eastern Mediterranean maritime archaeology. When I took a step
Yeah.
back and I was like, wow, oh, there's so many things I don't know. I have no idea. While
Yeah.
someone else was like, had no idea about the things I knew, but they were perfectly fluent in Nordic and like Viking archaeology or whatever part of maritime archaeology. And I think that was a very nice experience, very rich experience, as you said. So I'm very glad you enjoyed it and you speak highly of the program in Southampton. So I wanted to, again, just to keep the conversation moving and get into the main topic of what you're doing right now. After a little bit of stalking, I know that your master's dissertation was about marine cultural heritage in Lebanon, correct? So could you maybe give us, I know maybe it's been a while since you written your master's thesis, but maybe just what was the topic? How did you find it? Not in great detail, but like, what was the topic? How did you find it? Why did you choose it? And then we can get into what you're doing right now.
Yeah, basically, one of my modules at Southampton was museums and heritage management. So from that module, I chose, I was very inspired by museums and public engagement and outreach towards maritime heritage. And I wanted, because I knew in Lebanon we lack the public engagement initiatives and the public awareness of maritime archaeology. So I was very interested to dig into that in more details. So my thesis was to understand how maritime heritage is represented in museums in Lebanon. So I chose first to do a literature review on like the public engagement initiatives in Lebanon, how they took place and why they did take place and what's happening to them right now. But then I focused on museums because museums are more long-lasting and they affect people's perception of their own identity and like their own understanding of cultural heritage. So yeah, I chose that topic, and it was feasible in 1 month also. It was a very important aspect of why I chose my topic. So I came to Lebanon and I visited 3 museums. And I was interested to see how the archaeology is displayed and how the narrative either represents the maritime narrative or it doesn't. And it was a very interesting experience because in Lebanon, most of the important sites or like the big sites that are well known, they are all coastal sites like Tyre or Byblos or Sidon or Tripoli. So most of the artifacts inside of the museums that are from Lebanon, they are related to coastal sites. But when you come to the narrative of how we're talking about these artifacts, the maritime narrative is a bit absent. So whenever, if you talk, it's not just because of the museums, but like the people's perception of their own history and their own identity, it's not very linked to the sea, because I feel like there's this lack of knowledge towards how this sea affected the past lives. So yeah, I feel like the display of these artifacts can showcase this more and like make people engaged with it more and like learn the stories. We can write a lot of stories from these material culture that we have displayed in our museums.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's a beautiful idea behind it. I have a million questions, but I will hold on to them for now, because I think we'll have a more informed conversation in a minute. So now I wanted to, okay, you did your thesis, you came back, and now you are part of HFF Lebanon, right? So
Yeah.
I want you to talk to us about how did that came about? How did you join this effort? And what are your goals in, like, as a, what is it? It's not a project, like it's what's it called? Like local capacity building efforts by the HFF. So give us a bit of details about what is that, and then we can go into details about your project actions and what you're doing.
Okay, so the HFF Lebanon team was created by the Honor Frost Foundation in Lebanon in 2019 to carry on with the legacy of Honor Frost, because she was working in Lebanon. Do I need to make an introduction about who Honor was?
I think there's a bunch of people in this podcast that have talked about Honor Frost. Maybe if people are interested, can check out episode 2, I believe, that Judith gives a very good explanation of who Honor Frost was. Or go to the HFF website. Honor Frost was a major figure in maritime archaeology, one of the pioneers. She really liked anchors, but she really liked a lot of other things. So yeah, let's just accept that people know who Honor Frost is.
Yeah. So the foundation set up a local team to work in collaboration with the Directorate General of Antiquities and the Ministry of Culture. And we work as a rescue unit for preserving maritime heritage. So whenever there's any fieldwork that's gonna, or like construction that's gonna happen in an area where we suspect that there's high archaeological potential or any archaeological potential, we work as a rescue unit to go and map this area and understand, to survey basically, and understand if there's an archaeological potential that will be at threat, to mitigate for it in a management plan later. So my role, I'm a field maritime archaeologist. It's one of my roles with the team. So I go on fieldwork. We do remote sensing and geophysical survey. We do underwater surveys where we dive and do a systematic survey underwater to check for archaeology. And we also do ground truthing surveys using an ROV. Whenever we have anomalies that were shown in geophysical surveys, we deploy our remotely operated vehicle and check for these anomalies underwater. We also do photogrammetry. I'm not the one who's doing the photogrammetry, I'm the body. But we have underwater photographer who goes underwater, and we document one of the methods for documenting. And so this is on the rescue end. And of course, we write the reports afterwards, and we deliver them to the Director General of Antiquities and to the foundation. And whenever there's a publication coming through, I work under the scientific direction of Dr. Lucy Samaan. So she's the lead maritime archaeologist, and she's the one conducting the research. This is on the rescue end. We also do a lot of public engagement activities, and this is where also I put my expertise into play. So we've been doing separate types of activities. We've been to schools where we did like a career orientation day. So we take our equipment, our like good-looking stuff, and we go to schools, and we present as to what is maritime archaeology in a way that is more suitable for students, and we can like orient them how they can proceed with their careers if they are interested in the minor at the AUB, or how they can become archaeologists or maritime archaeologists. We also do we're doing also a diver awareness campaign. So we invited all the leaders of the dive clubs in Lebanon to our we're based at the Blue House. So it's an old traditional house that was restored by the Honor Frost Foundation. So, and it became like a space to do public engagement activities and our office as well. So whenever we want to do an event, we invited, like, for example, the diver awareness campaign. We invited the leaders of dive centers, and we explained to them what is maritime archaeology, because we know that there's a lot of looting and treasure hunting that can come either from divers or fishers or anyone who goes underwater. So this is why we had the need to do this activity. And when we talked with the divers, we asked if we can visit their dive centers, and luckily many of them were excited for the idea. So this is what we're also doing now. We're visiting different dive centers and talking to divers. And yeah, whenever there's a public lecture, we also like invite people to the Blue House. So we try to keep organizing events that can engage either the academics or the general public, or whomever is interested in the topic, depending on the event. And we also do research when we have the time, because it's already a packed schedule. So yeah, within our projects, we conduct research on the area we are studying. So yeah, this is briefly what we do.
Oh my! So there's a lot of. First of all, how big is the team? How many people are there in the team?
How many people are in the team? Like, the people going on the field are 4 of us. But we also, like all the students who went to the AUB minor program, they also volunteer with us or come and do internships with us on the projects. And we also have experts who live abroad but are also contributing. They are also part of the main team. So I think we're around 8 people.
All right.
Like,
yeah,
like the constant people in the team, but we always have like volunteers and interns.
No, volunteers is very important, because now someone knows that, oh, if I want to study maritime archaeology or marine culture in university in Lebanon or the university in Beirut, American university in Beirut, they can get the opportunity to volunteer in an actual field work, which is very important, I think, nowadays, to be able to put on your CV that I've actually been to the field. Talking about the field, you've said a lot of expensive words like ROVs and whatnot. So I'm very glad that you have those kinds of tools to conduct research. Remote operated vehicles, you said, and okay, yeah. Anyway, and photogrammetry, and what I wanted to like mostly focus on is, as you said, the second part of it. Because we can talk about field work for days, but people can find your activities, right, online or YouTube. Do you upload
Yes,
stuff on YouTube?
definitely. We're all we're on all the platforms.
Okay. So people can.
So we're on, yeah.
So
if you go to the Honor Frost Foundation website, it's where like the main updates happen, and we're on social media: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, soon on LinkedIn, hopefully.
Beautiful.
So yeah.
So a lot of activities are going on in HFF Lebanon, and there are a lot of opportunities for people. And I'm sure you're open to like collaborations if people want to reach out, if people want to work with HFF
Definitely.
Lebanon. I know that you're definitely open to that. But what are out of all the things you've said, what I'm most interested in and what I want to pick your brain on is the public engagement part of it. So you said as you said, you use your expertise in public engagement in maritime archaeology. So you said that there are 3 main museums in Lebanon that have to do with maritime archaeology. There are more, I imagine, or are there 3 main ones? Those ones?
So the main museum is the National Museum, and the M.A.R.E Archaeological Museum is a university museum. So these are the case studies for my thesis. There are other museums in Lebanon, but these ones, because I chose them because of the artifacts they possess. And it's not a registered museum, but it's called a Pepe Abed Museum. So Pepe was a diver, a sponge diver, and he collected a lot of artifacts. And then with collaborations, he made it into a public space so people can come and visit and see the artifacts he has. And they were being cataloged. And so it's not a registered museum, but it's a work in progress. So this was 3 years ago. I need to get my updates.
So, okay.
But to clarify a bit.
Excellent. So the important thing I wanted to ask is, you spoke about how these museums spaces, represent the maritime narrative. So I wanted to maybe ask you a bit about that, go into a bit depth about it. What is, in your opinion, the maritime narrative, and how is the maritime narrative represented, right or wrong?
It's not wrongly represented, but it can be represented in a way that is more inclusive and engaging and interactive. I would put it that way. So the maritime narrative, in my opinion, because Lebanon had a great history and ancient trades and like sea and like navigation, and so we need to learn about this past. So we don't need to just see the objects in the museum. I feel like there's a lot of stories that tie to these objects, and with the National Museum, I feel like the national identity has a lot more stories to tell than, okay, we had these big artifacts and we were the Phoenicians. We were not just, there was not just the Phoenician period. There were a lot of periods. All the periods are represented at the museum, but the stories are very limited. So if we know more about like all the cultures and how we moved from one culture to another and what we can understand from each period, we can have a better understanding of the bigger picture. And I feel the sea and the stories of the sea can bring more connections with the rest of the world. So this is why I feel like it's important to shed the light on them. So it's more about the stories these artifacts can tell. And like, we can talk about trade, we can talk about economy, we can talk about politics. There's a lot of content to them.
Absolutely. The key word here being, the key word you said being interactive. So I see the idea, and I fully support the idea of moving past traditional displays in museums, because I get that people, especially younger people nowadays, may find it difficult to engage with long text and something that needs attention, right? So interactive. How do we make the maritime narrative or the maritime landscape interactive in a museum?
I think there are a lot of ideas. Like, if we can now just decide to sit and brainstorm for 5 minutes, we can think about like visuals to show, sounds to play, stories to tell. Like, we can just visualize the story. We don't need to just visualize the artifact. So we can make a whole experience that it's more like an experience where you engage the visuals, the sounds, the feelings, the touch. So it can be more stimulating for whenever you want to experience this story. So you get hooked to that story even more. And we need to understand the motive of the people coming to the museum. I feel like this should be also the next step of the research I did for the museums, is to understand the motives of the people and how they perceive heritage and maritime heritage, to see the relationship between people and heritage. I feel like this would give us a lot of insight as to how we can give back the message that we want them to receive.
Yeah, interesting. The motive. So what is a motive, for example, of like I don't know, a 20-year-old person to visit the museum?
The motive can be many things.
Mm.
The motive can be either emotional, can be just curiosity, wanting the connection. Sometimes people want to feel connection with their roots. Like we have a lot of expats, the Lebanese expats, when they come to Lebanon, they want to go to the museum, they want to see their ancestors or what happened in this country. It creates a sense of ownership and belonging. Sometimes it's just curiosity. You just want to know what happened in that time. Sometimes it's spiritual. To each person is their motive to visit the museum, I guess.
Absolutely, yeah. Of course, as you probably know, I think about this a lot, especially in terms of like public engagement, like what we're doing right now. So my question is like, how in the world that we live in, how do we engage with people past museums? I feel like this is an aspect of public engagement that we tend to not talk about enough. And I don't know if it's because people, I don't want to point fingers towards anybody, but I feel like especially maybe older generations tend to like enjoy the safety that we get from hiding behind a museum and blaming the people of not going to the museum, and kind of like, it's not our problem. It's their problem for not going there. We have set a very nice exhibition, but the people are not visiting. And I don't know, on the one hand, I get it, but from the other hand, I feel like, people nowadays are so used to like getting everything, having everything at their feet. And then here come us who want them to engage with the narrative. And we're like, oh, but you need to like come to the museum and actually like put effort. Which on the one hand is like, it feels bad to say that, oh my God, are you asking people to like put effort onto something? It's so bad to say. But on the other hand, I feel like I need to be realistic about what's going on in the world.
I feel that's a very interesting subject to talk about, because like, yes, we are expecting people to come to the museums. We have to do our duties in making this experience interesting and exciting, and we need to give them a reason to come another time to the museum, like by creating activities and different types of events, and like making them feel that this space is something that is ongoing, not that like, okay, I just went to this time and okay, I saw everything I needed to see, there's no need for me to go there another time. I understand that, but also like I told you, with the work that we're doing, we try to make public engagement as part of our daily tasks. Like, for example, with the team, like not everyone is an archaeologist. There's few of us who are archaeologists, and we have a lot of technicians and people who come and help us and volunteers who are not necessarily maritime archaeologists. And for me, like the divers, some of them at this point, they know more than I do because they've been working in maritime archaeology for like 10 years. Like my diving instructor, he's been doing survey for 10 years, so he knows his way around underwater and detects like things much better than I do, because he's been very familiar with the maritime landscape and the underwater environment more, to put it in that sense. So I feel like my duty here comes to give him this extra information that he needs to understand things better in a more not academic way, but like the knowledge that I have to pass on to him in a way that he would understand. And same applies with like all the locals that we meet during our field work, for example. It's the extra effort that we need to put to make the local community included in our research and make them feel part of that they are part of writing this maritime narrative, because they also have knowledge about it and they want to feel included and they want to, because for example in the diver awareness campaign, many of people like to tell the stories, they like to tell us what they found, what they saw, they want to understand, they want to interact with us. So I feel like it's our duty to make them feel that this curiosity is not is valid, and like to make it worthy. So yeah, I feel, and a lot of people just want to volunteer with us. Whenever we're doing a diver awareness campaign, we're like, guys, this is the code of ethics for divers, and this is what you should and should not do. And at the end, like most of the questions is, how can we contribute? How can we? They get very excited about the topic. So the first thing is to inform people, because if they don't know, they're not gonna care, obviously. But I haven't met anyone who I tell like, hey, I'm a maritime archaeologist, and they're like, oh, cool. Like it follows, like many questions follows afterwards, and I keep talking for like quite a while as to just replying to the answers that people have. So I feel like people are curious. We just need to provoke them a little bit, or we need to like approach them. So yeah,
I fully agree, and that's why I'm very glad to see what's going on in HFF Lebanon and seeing, like as you said, the diver awareness campaign going bottom down and all the way up, and not sitting at the top waiting for the people to come to us. So I'm very happy to see that happening, and I hope that more people follow that example. I know that people do, it's not that people do it, but more people need to do it, and more people need to realize that it's through, as you said, provoking people, exciting them, keep making them part of the process as much as possible, because we're not excavating our identity, like the archaeologist's identity. We're excavating a local identity and finds that belong to everyone and do not belong to us. And on that note, I want to thank you very much for being with me today. This has been super nice, super informative. I don't know if you have any closing remarks, something you want to throw at the people listening before we close.
I first want to thank you for having me, and I think this was a very lovely episode. And yeah, no, I'm just happy that I got to share what I wanted. And I would like for people, if they want to know more about us, they can follow us on our socials, and they can reach out to us on the Honor Frost Foundation website, or on the social media platforms.
Absolutely. So everyone, thanks for listening to another episode of the M.A.R.E podcast, and I'll see you all in 2 weeks. Bye.